Right now at 10, one is dead and two are behind bars after a fatal shooting overnight in downtown Duluth. Advocates now demanding we start the conversation to end gun violence. And it's Dad's Day. What better way to celebrate the man who fixes our check engine lights than at a car show? Good evening, I'm Madison Green. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, we start with breaking news as the man accused of killing one Minnesota state lawmaker and injuring another has been captured. According to KARE 11, authorities are reporting 57-year-old Lance Boelter, allegedly responsible for killing Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband and injuring Senator John Hoffman and his wife, has been captured. He was found near his home in Green Isle, Minnesota. Speaker of the Minnesota State House, Lisa Damuth, a Republican, said in a statement, "I'm grateful this nightmare has come to an end." And she thanked all of the law enforcement involved to, quote, ensure this evil man faces justice. The news of Boelter's arrest ends a two-day manhunt in Minnesota. We will, of course, continue to bring you the latest updates as we learn them. One person is dead and two people are behind bars after a shooting in downtown Duluth overnight. The first suspect, 35-year-old Antonio Hendon, is being held at St. Louis County Jail. Hendon is facing preliminary charges of second-degree murder and first-degree assault. 41-year-old Amber Walker is also being held at the St. Louis County Jail in connection to the shooting. She's facing preliminary charges of aiding and abetting second-degree murder. According to the Duluth Police Department, they responded to a report of a shooting near First Ave East and East 3rd Street around 1:30 a.m. Sunday. When they arrived, officers found a man with multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to the hospital and eventually died. Police say a second man was also shot but not hurt. Authorities were able to identify Hendon and Walker after the shooting. The two were eventually detained by the Cloquet Police Department. DPD reports the people involved know each other, and we do not know what led up to the shooting, but authorities say they are investigating a prior incident that may have perpetuated it. Authorities have not released the victims' names yet, and we will continue to follow this story as well and update you as we learn more. Now, this is the third day this past week Minnesotans in our area wake up to news of gun violence. It started on Thursday with the Hermantown shooting, then yesterday the horrific killing of Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the injuring of Senator John Hoffman and his wife. Today, with more news of gun violence in Duluth, it is rocking our community. Northern News Now's Ryan Hayes reports from the scene of the latest act of violence.
In the wake of a string of shootings over the last few days in Minnesota, advocate Joan Peterson says the time for a conversation about gun safety is now.
Why do we need gun silencers in our country?
Joan Peterson from Brady United Against Gun Violence says after shootings, she's often told it's too early for a conversation about gun control.
Why haven't we done anything? And then they tell us, people who are working on this, oh, now's not the time to talk about this.
For the last 2 decades, Peterson has sought gun reform after her sister Barbara was killed in a shooting stemming from domestic violence.
He just kind of, I guess, came apart and shot her when she was delivering some papers to him.
That's why she and other Northland groups spent Saturday advocating for an end to the shootings. The event was hosted by Lavinda Van, who's lost 4 members of her family to gun violence herself.
It was near and dear to my heart after they shot my grandson at a block party to say, when will it stop?
10 St. Louis County groups were at the event Saturday, with the recent Hermantown shooting and assassination of Rep. Melissa Hortman making the event all the more somber.
It's jarring. It's shocking. It's really hard. It's really hard. I think we all have PTSD from all the shootings.
Now, with another shooting in downtown Duluth overnight Saturday, advocates like Peterson say the violence is taking its toll on all of us.
This is not normal. We shouldn't have to live like this.
Reporting in Duluth, Ryan Hayes, Northern News Now.
Well, now we are going to check in with meteorologist Dave Anderson. Dave, it is still pretty cold out there.
Around the lake.
Yes.
2 zones of weather in our area today, cooler by the lake and cloudy to boot. Inland into the 70s with sunshine abounding. We're going to replay that pattern again tomorrow, but the fresh element will be tossing in the chance for potentially severe storms. Eyeing up what we had for high temps today, we'll point out that we did have that dichotomy, that split difference here in our region. Cloudier and 64 degrees for a high temp in Castle Danger. Normal is 72 or so. Inland, 70 in Hibbing to 78 in Embarrass. Not the ice box right now. Mid to upper 70s from Little Fork to Big Falls, Keewatin and Hibbing, Ely, all in the toastier zone. But swinging towards the south shore here, right by the lake in Ashland, only 60. Did make it to 71, also close to normal in Ironwood. As I mentioned, tomorrow we're going to do that temperature regime once again. And the added element is that low pressure system that's still coming our way from the southwest. And that warm front that was pushing up towards us yesterday has now slowed down, and it's becoming a semi-stationary front. And those are good rainmakers, so that is easing up towards our area. And by tomorrow, it should be with us. Our Monday forecast then says it'll be on the cloudy side, 7 o'clock in the morning with a low temp around 50 or so. Then as early as 11 o'clock, especially over towards places like Grand Rapids, we could start to get the thunderstorms. They'll kick around through 3 p.m., still be with us around 7 p.m. High temp around 70 for lakeside communities means it's warming up finally closer to the lake. And that's a sign, Madison, by next weekend, even lakeside dwellers could push into the 80s.
All right, well, that's.
I had that model yesterday, the only one that said we would do that. Now more are backing it up, so it looks like summer should be here next weekend after a touch of thunder and a cold snap to start the week.
All right, well, I really hope so. Thank you, Dave. Turning to national news, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq, is issuing a new warning. The embassy issued a security alert Sunday, warning of an increased potential for violence or attacks against Americans in Iraq. The warning comes after several recent military strikes between Israel and Iran. The alert said the embassy is aware of the increased potential for foreign terrorist organizations, inspired violence or attacks against U.S. businesses and locations frequented by U.S. citizens. The State Department maintains a level 4 travel advisory for Iraq, meaning Americans should not travel to Iraq for any reason. Now, Iraq is located between the warring Israel and Iran, and just west is Jordan, where a local man is currently living for work. Ed Armstrong from Ironwood, Michigan, shared the video on your screen of a ballistic missile entering Jordanian airspace. Armstrong is in Jordan with the U.S. State Department and says the video was taken by his colleague in Irbid, a city in Jordan. Armstrong believes neither Israel nor Iran are supposed to be in Jordanian airspace, which has been filled with air raid sirens and jets flying above in what he described as a wild time.
When they hit, the buildings in Irbid shake and you hear a loud boom, and there have been hundreds of hits. Sadly, you can see the fear and anxiety in the faces of the Jordanian people around town. American citizens here have not been told to evacuate Jordan, but I am guessing that will happen in the next few days.
Armstrong expressed concern that even if they are told to evacuate, many commercial airlines have canceled flights for the next week, so he's not sure how they will when the time comes. Well, today was a day of celebration for those we hold the flashlight for while they work on their vehicles. So what better way to spend Father's Day than at a car show? At the Belknap Plaza in Superior, the annual Father's Day all-Ford-powered car show was held for locals and out-of-towners alike. Dozens of classic, newer, and even more classic cars filled the parking lot in hopes of earning a trophy as hosts with the Twin Ports Mustang and Ford Club voted on their favorites. And new this year was the Kids' Choice Award that hopes to keep the tradition revving.
Far back as I can remember, I was going to car shows with my grandpa, and then it almost makes me cry just to think about, how my son and my other son might think about being here someday and just remembering all the cool cars that we got to see. You like cars?
Proceeds from the event will go to the Minnesota Kidney Foundation, which had a table set up at the event for information on early detection and more. The event has gone on for more than 2 decades. Chris Matthews is a member of the Twin Ports Ford and Mustang Group and brought his 2005 Mustang this year.
As I get older, I want to keep doing it, and so there's lots of memories of that in the past, and most everybody here has a fondness for whatever they're driving.
Matthews also added this is one of the only all-Ford car shows in the area. The event also featured prize drawings and a commemorative 2025 Hemmings Father Day magnet for the first 35 individuals to register a vehicle. Still to come, I'm not a runner, but if I were, it would be for a good cause. More on the 5K that raised more than $5K for the Veterans Memorial Hall.
Today's almanac tells us indeed the normal high temp is 72. Duluth and Superior got around 61, while inland towns exceeded the norm. As we mentioned just a few minutes ago, temperatures will do that same trend for tomorrow, but we'll start to warm up closer to that record perhaps by this time next week. 88 not out of the question, especially away from the lake. First, though, we have to deal with the threat of severe weather tomorrow night. I'll lay out the odds again coming up after our break.
And in an exclusive video sent to Northern News Now from a neighbor of Boelter's, we can see authorities gathering around a place of interest. This video taken just moments before Vance Boelter was arrested by law enforcement. His arrest comes after a large manhunt went underway, and he was apprehended in Sibley County. According to our sister station, KARE 11, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office has charged him with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murders. Veterans Memorial Hall began more than 100 years ago as a place for Civil War and Spanish-American War vets to hold meetings. It has evolved into a museum paying tribute to all service people of all branches and all eras. Dave Anderson tells us how the hall pays its bills to stay open to the public free of charge.
Veterans Memorial Hall in Duluth is a good place to see relics like this World War II era GI steel helmet. It takes money to keep those lights on. The John Werner 5K Memorial Race in Rice Lake, Minnesota is one of the major fundraisers that keeps Veterans Memorial Hall in the depot open.
Our mission is to collect, preserve, and disseminate all the history of veterans of northeastern Minnesota.
Jay Hagan of the Hall is one of the people who does those tasks in order to share Northland history with others in several ways.
We do programs, projects, publications. We do events, exhibits, educational programs, all surrounding the veterans.
The 5K fundraiser was founded many years ago by Army veteran Command Sergeant Major John Werner. The career soldier also served as Cub Scout leader and first mayor of Rice Lake before passing away from cancer. This year's winner, Calla Gilbertson, volunteers with 23rd Veteran and thought it was important to help the hall that John Werner loved so much.
Just means a lot to support the Veterans Memorial Hall and John Werner and his memory, so definitely wanted to partake.
Jay Hagan tells us that the race raised about $10,000 for the hall, and Sergeant Werner would be proud of that.
With his loss, that's the least we can do as a community is to, preserve his honor.
Runners are already encouraged to start making plans for next year's John Werner Memorial 5K. In Rice Lake, Dave Anderson, Northern News Now.
Veterans Memorial Hall can be found in the historic Union Depot on Michigan Street in Duluth. It is part of the St. Louis County Historical Society.
Hey, let's take a look at the current conditions going on out there. We have temperatures right now in the 50s and the 60s, which isn't too far off the mark for normal this time of year. And some places have a clear sky like International Falls. Other places are cloudy like Hibbing and Chisholm. Moose Lake's in there as well. And into Wisconsin, we're starting to get rain already in places like Rhinelander. And indeed, for the entire region tonight after midnight, we do have a 30% chance for that rain to creep in as a big potent low creeps up from the Colorado region. And there it is right now, leaving Colorado, heading into Nebraska, trying to get into South Dakota. And there's that stationary front that I mentioned. Yesterday, it was moving a little faster, so it was a straight up warm front. Now it's slowing down, but it's still going to act like a warm front. Lift moist air up, turn it into cloud, drop rain out of the deal. And as it slowly creeps towards our region, the rain chances will increase towards 60, even 70% by tomorrow afternoon, and that's where we'll be getting the showers and thunderstorms, potentially strong thunderstorms. The odds of severe weather have gone up since we spoke last night. Now the tip of the arrowhead is still just looking at general thunderstorms, and the Keweenaw Peninsula may just get general thunderstorms, but there is a marginal risk for northern parts of Minnesota into the Bayfield Peninsula and through a good slice of the UP. Bumping up to a slight risk for severe weather now is a stripe that goes through Carleton County, southern St. Louis County, parts of Itasca County into Douglas County, through the Hayward Cable region, down towards Rice Lake as well. And an enhanced risk for severe weather will probably cover our friends and neighbors down towards the Twin Cities, trying to creep up towards Brainerd. So there's a shot at some action indeed tomorrow night. By about 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, line of storms should be around Bemidji, approaching Grand Rapids. Rapids. And then we move to 3 o'clock, and that line blooms out and runs from Hill City up to Grand Rapids and up towards International Falls even, and even edging over towards Hibbing, Nashwauk, and Keewatin. And from that time in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, we go towards about supper time tomorrow, and that action will be covering a good chunk of the Vermilion Range from Ely down to Two Harbors. Duluth, Superior get the chance for the storms. That pushes all the way over towards the Bayfield Peninsula. And once we get past that, then things do start to settle down, wind down, and by tomorrow, or actually by Tuesday, then we just have some spotty showers. That's what I'm trying to say. Spotted cows, spotty showers. That's the deal there. And then when that wraps up, rain totals should be moderate to potentially heavy. Through 2 days, we might get a 1/4 inch in Orr, 3/4 in Duluth, a little bit less than that in Superior, maybe 3/4 in Hayward, and 1/3 of an inch in Ironwood. And of course, we're about 3 inches shy for the year now for rainfall totals. If we can get this, we'll put it to use, of course. Here's what we get tonight. Low temperatures, Minnesota-wise in the 50s, 30% rain chance. Same deal for Wisconsinites, same range of temperatures, same precip chance. Tomorrow, Wisconsin, Michigan, again, cooler by the lake, toasty inland, 60% afternoon and evening storm chance. Minnesota has a 70% shot at the storms, 60s by the lake, around 70 or so farther inland. And now, the extended forecast. As temperatures go up this week, it'll start to feel more like summer, Madison. The shakiest, hairiest of the weather could be the strong storms tomorrow night. Can't rule out the risk of tornadoes. So everyone make your weather safety plan right now. Other shower and storm chances with us through the week until next weekend when it dries up and warms up. Even Duluth Superior could be in the 80s.
That is what I need to hear.
Some people will like that, so others will melt and wilt.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. Well, like Dave said, the sun may not have been out today, but there were plenty of fathers and sons and daughters at the ballpark. Well, with today being Father's Day, what better way to celebrate than eating some peanuts and Cracker Jacks down at Wade Stadium for a special Huskies baseball game. The Huskies hosted a special Father's Day game today against the Rochester Honkers. Fathers of all ages packed the bleachers for a great afternoon as there were giveaways and contests throughout the ball game. While the weather wasn't the warmest for mid-June, the game still provided a great way for fathers and their children to come together and celebrate.
First thought we were supposed to have a baseball tournament for him in Cumberland, but that got rained out, so we decided to get some baseball, get a little watch, and maybe he'll learn a little something.
He's nice sometimes. He's my baseball coach, and he's my dad, and I love him.
That kid had all the right answers. The Huskies trailed 3-0, but scored 4 straight runs and got a walk-off winner over the Rochester Honkers. And Daniel Chiarelli had the pleasure of interviewing that little kid there.
Yeah, it's such a tough assignment to go around to fathers and sons and talk to them about why they love each other so much. So very heartwarming right there, and a great day of baseball over at Wade Stadium. But it's June in Minnesota, so you know what we're talking about, Madison?
What are we talking about?
Hockey. The Hockey State, the UMD women's program, they've produced a long list of talented athletes, and one was the first overall pick in the PWHL expansion draft. Our own Alexis Bass sits down with her coming up next. And welcome back. The UMD women's hockey program has produced a long list of talented players, Hall of Famers, and Olympic stars. But now with the PWHL, these players have a chance to go pro. Northern News Now's Alexis Bass sits down with one former Bulldog who found herself as the #1 pick in this year's expansion draft.
I think it's all kind of starting to sink in a bit more today. Yesterday was a crazy day and lots of emotions, but yeah, just so excited to be a part of that organization.
You are the #1 overall pick, first ever of the PWHL expansion draft. When you hear Ashton Bell beside that, where does your head go?
Yeah, it's definitely a surreal feeling, and that hasn't really sunk in yet, just going first in the expansion draft.
Where does this moment of being picked #1 overall in the first ever expansion draft go on your list of things that you've already accomplished, including winning Olympic gold at the 2022 Olympic Winter Games?
Yeah, I think it's definitely up there. Didn't even know this was going to be a possibility. Just signing a couple of years ago to Ottawa, I thought that I was going to be there for a little bit, and then now all of a sudden there's this expansion draft and more opportunities for Bulldogs and players coming out of college, which is super exciting just to see the growth of this league.
Did you ever think that you would also be reunited on a team in your professional career with 4 other former Bulldogs, as you did this past year, competing against 3 more former Bulldogs, or 8 in the PWHL Walter Cup Finals?
No, not at all. I think we were super lucky that way to have each other and to get to play with each other in college and then into the professional level is super cool and just such a cool experience for us all to share. And now I'll be playing against most of them, but yeah, just having that time with them in Ottawa was something that I won't forget.
There are 7 new faces that have declared for this year's draft. What encouragement do you have for them?
Yeah, I think just it speaks to this program and what they're able to do with the players that they bring in. Coach Maura Kroll and Laura Schuler now have done a tremendous job to just prepare us and to get us ready for that next level. I think they bring in world-class players and people as well, and just players that want to work and put the work in and play that kind of grittier style, and I think that suits the league very well. So I'm looking forward to see where they all end up here soon at the end of June, and yeah, I'm just super grateful to be a part of this program, and yeah, it shows with how much representation we have in the league.
And the 2025 PWHL Draft is scheduled for Tuesday, June 24th in Ottawa. The back-to-back Walter Cup champion Minnesota Frost hold on to the 6th overall pick. There are plenty of Bulldogs looking to go pro, such as former co-captains Clara Van Wieren and Nina Jobe-Smith. And finally tonight, Duluth Marshall star pitcher Owen Marszalek was crowned the 2025 Mr. Baseball Minnesota this afternoon after a stellar season on the diamond. He helped lead the Toppers to a 22-2 regular season record, a Section 7 AA championship, and a trip to the state championship semifinals. The seniors committed to the University of Western Kentucky next season in Madison. I will truly never ever forget the Duluth Marshall baseball game I went to film, and Owen threw 17 strikeouts in a single game. So just super impressive all year long, seeing him both in the batter's box and on the pitching mound. And like I said, going to a D1 school next season, so it'll be exciting to follow him along his journey.
Absolutely. It seems like we got some pretty good athletes up here, if I do say so. Well, thank you, Daniel.
Yep.
We'll be right back. In case you missed it at the top of our show, authorities are reporting 57-year-old Vance Boelter was found near his home in Green Isle, Minnesota. This is exclusive video sent to Northern News Now from a neighbor of Boelter's. We can see authorities gathering around a place of interest. This video taken just moments before Vance Boelter was arrested by law enforcement. His arrest comes after a large manhunt was underway, and he was apprehended in Sibley County. According to our sister station, KARE 11, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office has charged him with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder. We'll have more tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. on Northern News Now. And now, we have time for a little bit of holding on to history.
Yep, tomorrow night's Holding On to History night, and we talk about a black day in Proctor's history, frankly. We go back to the era of the gangsters here in America, which ran roughly from 1919 to 1934, along with Prohibition. Bank robbery, that was a common way for bad guys to raise money, and the payroll coming in on the DM&IR train one day in May 1929 was the target of a couple of gangsters. Were they ever found? Were they ever caught? What happened? We'll let you know tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, Holding On to History.
You really just like to keep us guessing there, huh?
Oh, yeah. Can't give it away.
Well, can you give away
I
the
can
weather?
give away the 7-day forecast. Indeed. Take a look at what's coming our way. We have a marginal slight risk in our region for severe storms, especially late afternoon and tomorrow evening. So folks around the region will be under the gun. We'll have high winds, perhaps big hail, thunder, lightning, rain to a moderate amount, and there is a tornado chance, but that should be gone by Tuesday with just some showers, then on and off shower and storm chances through Friday, hopefully of the non-severe variety. It's been cooler by the lake lately with a lake breeze and an easterly wind, but that should change, and even folks by the north and south shores could go towards the 80s by next weekend.
Oh gosh, well, I really hope you're right there, Dave. Well, thank you both, and thank you all for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.